22nd, 2020 meeting of the Union Township Zoning Commission is now called to order at 7 p.m. Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Mr. Shannon, can you pass this down to Mr. Campbell for me?
And the minutes were distributed. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the June 24th meeting?
So moved.
We have a first by Daniel Campbell. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a first and a second.
Roll call, Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Pelfrey,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Toff.
Yes.
You
Motion
have to
carries.
abstain.
I have to abstain?
You weren't here.
Oh, I wasn't here, so I abstained. I was here in spirit. Okay, and reminder, all speakers that are going to approach have their forms filled out. I think you all have, so thank you. We will go ahead and call the case for the evening, 30-20-Z, which is an R4 zone change request by Grand Communities LLC. Mr. Wright, would you please provide a case summary?
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This case is an R4 application submitted by Fisher Homes, Grand Communities LLC. This is to rezone approximately 48.27 acres from estate residential in M1 to R4 single family, proposing a new 177 lot residential single family development, 11.25 acres of open space, approximately 23.5%. In the development, and it will be accessed from Red Sunrise Lane, which is a new street, public street that was built by Redwood Communities when they developed across from West Clermont High School. This is located in the far eastern, southeastern portion of the township. As I mentioned, it's adjacent to Redwood Communities, the multifamily project there. This has been vacant since the institution of zoning. It's basically a wooded and farm parcel. Has no access to road frontage, but with Sunrise Lane, access was created. The proposal includes a combination of lots ranging from 40 feet up to 60 feet and a mixed product offering. The density will be approximately 3.67 units per acre gross density, which is within the recommended density targets of the Union Township Comprehensive Land Use Plan 2030. As I indicated, the property is split zone now, which is not a desirable configuration. It is close to the Clough Pike Industrial District area, and the state residential district extends north toward and along the Union Township, Batavia Township boundary. Otherwise, you have some moderate density residential further to the west, PD district there as well, and multifamily uses and residential uses in the immediate vicinity. There's also some larger quasi-institutional public uses in the area with West Clermont High School and Mount Carmel Christian Church occupying parcels nearby. As I indicated, the 2030 land use plan indicates that the property is located in the Bach-Buxton corridor. The majority of the property to the north is vacant and underutilized, transitioning to residential of varying degrees of intensity and density with industrial to the south. The plan calls for residential uses to be developed with an eye toward utilizing market-based planning approaches to facilitate development in this area of the township. The use of appropriate buffering and the preservation of natural features are encouraged in this area of the township, and the plan requires traditional building materials, monument signage. The use of the PD or its residential equivalent, the R4, to facilitate high-quality development is encouraged. The R4 regulations have been provided for the board's review. The fire department has reviewed the plan and has no objection to the proposal as presented. Notably, they need to make sure they can secure adequate fire flow and hydrant access through the development of permitting process. Looking at this, as I indicated, it's about 48.2 acres, 3.67 units per acre. They are pursuing a single-step consolidated approach here, reducing time to market and allowing for an efficient development review process. The development preserves existing natural topography and wooded areas, reducing the environmental impact and achieving stated land use plan objectives. The plan indicates that a maximum of not more than 80 of the proposed 40-foot minimum width sites can be dispersed throughout the development, and 97 of the proposed 50 and 60-foot minimum parcels proposed for the remainder. It is anticipated the current development plan is proposed nets the most advantageous development balance and is harmonious in its formation. The proposed minimum front yard setbacks of 25 feet from the right-of-way line with a minimum of 5-foot, 10-foot sum. Total side yard setbacks is consistent with other projects of this magnitude. Notably, Weatherby Farms Estates of Shaler Ridge, Liberty Crossing, and Terrace Ridge, all very successful developments in Union Township, have comparable and similar setbacks. This trend's consistent with market in the area, smaller lots, larger homes, lot yields similar to the existing density in the area. The R2 district would allow up to 4.2 units per acre, which the bulk of Shaler Crossing is actually R2, and that is another high-quality development in the township. Estrella also achieves similar densities. 23% open space conservation will result in the preservation of valuable hillsides, other natural features. The plan also satisfies the requirement that the developments include cohesive design and amenities. Much of the development is served by dedicated public streets and in the project. A review of the proposal indicates that several technical requirements must be addressed. The applicant needs to provide detailed elevations, which they have provided to us for the commission's review this evening. Also, I would note that a similar provision that we've had in other communities that no two identical elevations or color buildings be constructed adjacent to one another. No clearing zones need to be established in all areas where the project abuts residential uses that exist currently. Those no clearing zones should be a minimum of 20 feet in width measured from side or rear property lines, as applicable in areas where clearing exceeds 20 feet of the adjacent residential property line. A buffer plan shall be provided for review, demonstrating the mitigation of these impacts and the resulting restoration of similarly beneficial vegetation or other approved landscaping configuration. It may be beneficial to consider extending the current terminus of Granite Drive through the use of a cul-de-sac knuckle configuration, leading to platting and construction of the planned roadway to the property limits, which would be the Batavia Township Corporation line. That is with an eye not necessarily for Union Township specifically, but for the overall orderly development of the area, as at some point there may be further activity in Batavia Township, and we do, as a matter of policy, and the Planning Commission also promotes connectivity through the extension of streets. We try to avoid stubs and permanent terminuses if we can. This configuration change will not result in any loss of any planned lot within the development. It's a relatively easy change to accommodate. Other technical plan requirements can be satisfied prior to development plan approval, and we would also indicate a landscaping plan should be provided for the entry monument. We also need to know from the applicant fairly early on whether they will provide for a lighting district and whether a street lighting district petition will be pursued as part of the approval process of each development. Those 7 conditions are presented to the board for their consideration. I would indicate there is a typo. It should be the R4 formal plan there in the recommended modifications. And I would entertain any questions that the commission has. That concludes my report.
The second modification has been met. They have already.
They have provided us with elevations,
So
yes.
the second modification has already been met.
There is a second caveat to that about the elevations, though, and the color of the structures.
Okay.
And those haven't been provided.
Okay.
We can always leave that in. And it's-
Just leave it in for now? Okay.
If that's, we can discuss it.
Okay, good. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Cory?
No, I don't have any from Mr. Wright.
I would like to ask now if the representative for the project is here and would like to speak. Ian?
Do you mind if I
No, no,
have my paper?
your form.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Hillary Latham, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think this is on, okay. I'm Hillary
You can do that.
Lafine. I'm a project planner for Green Communities, the affiliated development company for Fisher Homes. And tonight I'm here before you to request a R4 zone change as well as a positive recommendation of approval for our formal concept plan. A little bit about Fisher Homes. We've been building in the Cincinnati area for 40 years now. We have a lot of internal teams that focus on how our communities age over time. We think a lot about how our community's set up, everything from the way you pull into the community, what the landscaping looks like, what the entry monuments look like, and then especially our home elevations. We have an internal architecture team that's constantly updating and revising our elevations and floor plans to be consistent with the latest trends. A couple of communities in the nearby area. One is Forest Glen. This one contains the product that we'll be proposing tonight. Another community in the area is 12 Oaks, which is actually just down the street on Clough Pike a little bit within Union Township and currently under construction. So we just recently went through this same process for an R4 zoning amendment for that project. Mr. Wright did a good job of setting precedent and going over all the site area and where the site is located, so I won't spend too much time on these first few slides, but one thing that I did want to mention is that the parent tract for the parcel is both within Batavia and Union Township. We are strictly purchasing and developing on the area that is within Union Township, so none of our site will be within Batavia Township, and that line is represented by this red line here. One advantage for Union Township in this regard is that although it is in Union Township, it's all Batavia school districts. So although West Clermont High School is right there, the children in this subdivision will be going through Batavia Township schools. There's a site map. Again, we're asking to zone from ER estate residential and industrial to R4 residential. It's consistent with what is already in the existing area. There's a lot of PUD development. Estrella to the southeast, we have, which is single family. We have Redwood, which is to the northeast, which is for rent apartments. Some multifamily in Shaler Woods, and then the rest is single family residential. So it's very consistent with what's already in the area. We would just be adding more of the same, and it seems more consistent with what is there versus the ER estate and the M1 industrial. I wanted to include this slide just to show where Batavia Township line is and their zoning, just to show that we are also being consistent with what they currently have in this same area. So again, a lot of planned residential, a lot of single family, so we just wanted to be conscious of what we were putting in to make sure that we weren't going against something or backing a subdivision against something that didn't make sense. As Mr. Wright had mentioned, we are in the Stone Lake Olive Branch corridor, indicated by this red boundary. Our site is consistent with what's listed in that corridor. We're creating a community with residential market-based planning, mixed densities and development types. We do have one product I will get into a little bit more in my next slides about the different classifications within that product. And then we are also enhancing and preserving the natural amenities and features on the site. Up on the screen is an image of our development. As mentioned, it's just under 50 acres, 48.27 acres, 177 home sites were proposed. We on the site have a mix of 40-foot lots and 50-foot lot minimums. The averages will be slightly larger than that. I believe they're planned for 42 or 43 feet, and the 50-foot home site minimums are really planned for 54-foot sites, but having the minimums as 40 and 50 gives us the flexibility to put different products on, or different floor plans on different lots. This tan product here are the 40-foot units, and these red kind of product are the wider 50-foot home sites. And the reasoning for having the two different products is to allow for a different price point for the buyer. So you're allowing two different buyers within one community with 177 total home sites. It's allowing the community to develop quicker by offering these two different products. We're preserving 11.26 acres of the site, 23.3%. The minimum requirement for an R4 rezone is 20%. We will be including an amenity on the site in the form of a playground. Again, these are Maple Street homes for first-time home buyers. So an amenity like a playground is especially important. We're preserving a lot of the existing natural features. So for example, there's a stream corridor that comes through here and a stream that passes through here. So we're trying to preserve those as best as possible. And then our main entrance will be off of Red Sunrise Drive with a secondary access entrance into the Redwood development, which will come in later phases. Here's just some theme imagery for our community. Again, the playground and the preservation of existing woodlands is important. The product itself, again, it's geared towards first-time home buyers. The homes themselves will be anywhere between 1,200 square feet to 2,500 square feet. The 1,200 square foot product is more of the ranch-style products, whereas they grow bigger and gain more square footage as you move into the two-story products. They're mostly 3 to 4 bedrooms, with the exception of the one-stories, mostly have 2 to 3 bedrooms, depending if you convert a study into a bedroom. It's just some imagery from the inside of one of our floor plans. This is an example of how the 40-foot home site would set up. And an example of how the 50-foot product home sites would set up. One thing that I did want to highlight was the demographics within Union Township and the median ages. Again, this is a product that's for the first-time home buyer, so that falls anywhere between the ages of 25 to probably 39. But I did just want to point out the growing demographic for the 25 to 29-year-olds. It's a 25% increase between the year 2000 and 2018. I presume that those numbers are still trending that way. And there's a market for this product based off of the data here on the chart which is included in the Union Township Comprehensive Plan. This was pulled straight out of there. So in summary, we're diversifying housing stock, not only within our own community with the two different products, but we're doing it within Union Township in itself. It's acting as a transition into the single family, so you're going from the Redwood for rent apartments into the Estrella community, which has a little bit larger lots than what we do, but is still fairly consistent with our product. Providing housing for young families, again, which is a growing demographic and a large demographic within Union Township. And preserving an abundance of natural features. Again, we're going above the recommended amount of 20% to 23% of preserved open space. There was one thing that I would like to ask for consideration on regarding the recommended modifications. Number 3, the no clearing zone shall be established in all areas where the proposed project abuts of residential uses. Such no clearing zone shall be a minimum of 20 feet in width as measured from side or rear property line as applicable. Green Communities would like to request that that be limited to only against the Redwood development rather than the Estrella development. There's already a large natural open space buffer in the Estrella development per their approved preliminary development plan. So we would just ask that that consideration only be applicable to the Redwood site.
Do you have a graphic to demonstrate that, to clarify that?
We can get that back once they're done
All
with
right.
their presentation, I can show. And if I may clarify, Mr. Lewis, that was the intent of the recommendation, was specifically to address the Redwood shared property line. Ms. LaFina is correct, that the MI Homes development has a significant wooded, like it's acres and acres of woods between the two projects, so.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you. Is anybody else for the project here to speak? Is anyone here to speak against the project? Hearing none, then I guess we will close the public portion of this meeting and have a discussion, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Lewis, you can see the graphic here on the screen. That is the wooded buffer between Estrella and the projects. I would say that it's at least 10 acres,
All right.
just on my guesstimation here. But as you can see with Redwood, which is to the north there, the clearing limits are pretty defined, and so we really, and because of the existing agricultural field there, especially on the north side of the proposed development, that is where we wanted to make sure that we kept the minimum no clearing buffer areas.
So we want to keep it on the Redwood side.
The
of things.
Redwood side,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, that makes sense, I think. Yeah, it was inferred that way because it's where they, requirement number 3 states where proposed project abuts residential uses. So it is, Redwood is really the only place where it's abutting residential uses. But we can clarify that shall be established in the Redwood area where the
It
proposed,
only apply to the Redwood site.
just, yeah, established in the Redwood area where the proposed project abuts the issues. Yeah, I don't have any issues with the project.
Okay, go ahead and,
Well, you need to ask everybody.
yes. Anybody else have any questions or concerns in regards?
I do not.
None? The only clarification I want to ask, is this Buxton corridor or Olive Branch Stone Lake?
I think we checked that. Is it the Stone Lake corridor? Is it?
That's the only question I had, so we would just change this.
I thought we checked it. It's in Buxton.
The report says one thing and their findings say something else, so I want to make sure I drop the motion correctly.
Theirs does? Or the-
It says Buxton 1 and
The recommendations for the corridor are very
they're
similar.
very similar.
Then the only other question is, should I include this modification in there as well, the portico? We did say probably that should be a listed modification right now.
It's down here, Lighty
Is it down?
District. Yeah, it's in number, it's covered in number 7.
So we'll just re-clarify number 3.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
Okay, so it is, it's in the Stone Lick with a shared it shares it with Bucks. It's the shared property line, it's literally the dividing line between the
Let's
two.
use the Buxton.
Okay, since it's already drafted,
Yeah.
okay. All right, I will go ahead.
Well, I mean, we can I would just modify that to the Stone Lick Olive Branch corridor.
Okay.
The findings and recommendations for the
They're very
corridor
similar.
are almost identical because they're
Yeah,
contiguous.
just change the title.
The only difference being is one contemplates more commercial development around 32, and one contemplates more commercial development around the existing industrial on Ferris and Buxton. So that's, they both call for residential kind of in the middle, so, those are the recommendations.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I will go ahead and form a motion. Case 3-20-Z, applicant Grand Communities LLC, the zoning commission finds that the submitted R4 concept formal plan application and zone change request is consistent with the Horizon 2030 land use plan, but does not meet all of the planned development applications requirement of the R4 concept plan. Therefore, this commission recommends the submitted plan be approved contingent upon the adherence to the noted modifications as specified in this motion. All required supplemental information and plan modifications must be completed and submitted to the planning director no later than 1 week prior to the trustees' hearing of this case. Findings of fact. This development is in the Olive Branch Stone Lick corridor. The subject property is located, which is transitional corridor with natural features such as hills, slopes, and streams. This area is ideal for mixed-use residential and commercial development depending on its position relative to Route 32. Subject to the following modifications, listed as 1 through 7 in the report with a specific correction of modification 3 to simply refer to the clearing zones be on, applicable to the Redwood site on the modification. And that will conclude my motion. Anybody have any questions?
I'll second the motion.
Second. We have a first and a second?
Roll call, Mr. Toft,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Pelfrey,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
and Mr. Shannon.
Mr. Shannon? Mr. Shannon?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
All right,
His face mask had him muffled.
all right.
motion carried.
Thank you. Is there any new business to come before this commission?
I have no further business for the board.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Any old business? Hearing none, I will call to adjourn this meeting at 7:28 PM. Meeting adjourned.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.